Oh, hello. You're distracting as always, distractingly handsome as always. And I am Paul, Berserker01 Batman Shelley, your humble host and space bartender here at TheAstroPub, your space bar at the end of the universe. And this is another capsule. That's right, Office Hours capsule. This is a short section of my Office Hours live stream I do on Thursdays at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Would love to have you join us live here at twitch.tv/TheAstroPub and youtube.com/TheAstroPub live. Enjoying chat here. We discuss a lot of things. We talked about Star Citizen. We've talked about ancient empires. I talked a little bit about Outlaw Star. We go all over the place. But yeah, let's get into the big news here. This is the Star Citizen monthly report for June of 2025. Now, before we do, I do want to emphasize, this is, in fact, not a summary. You can probably tell that right now from the length. So I'm going to read everything word for word from the report so you have a context for what's going on. I will also be interjecting some other things because some of this is follow-ons from previous months to kind of explain a little bit if you're not quite sure about this. If you want to watch all of this, I have an entire playlist, which will be right up there, which you can click on, which watches, I think I've been doing these monthly report read-throughs pretty much every month for the last 5 or 6 years. So I have a lot of information that I've gathered over the time in terms of what CIG is talking about. With that being said, let's get started. June was a busy month for CIG, with most teams making final updates towards Alpha 4.2 and upcoming content. Read on for the full details of last month's development, including the latest from ships, AI tech, and core gameplay teams. AI content. June saw AI content meeting with the directors and combat AI team to keep pushing the development of the updated combatant wildline script. This new line set covers both FPS and dogfighting NPCs and provides a much-needed update to the enemies players that have been fighting for years. The team currently looking into leveraging dynamic conversations while keeping the line set concise enough to potentially offer gang-specific voice packs. However, conversations and prototyping are required before they can begin capturing the content. Outside of the combat, the team updated civilian behaviors to utilize additional lines that haven't been used yet, to make them feel more reactive in more environments. Finally, AI tech supported the integration of new mission providers into an upcoming content. So this is just the stuff you see in game when it comes to AI. AI features. Now this is the stuff that they're working on in the background, which aren't always updated into the games. It's mostly just sort of things that support AI. Sometimes it's even like new systems that they're implementing. Last month, AI features completed their tasks with the irradiated Valacar, which made its debut in the PEU. This was the culmination of months of hard work by cross-disciplinary teams, including AI features in tech, animation, gameplay programming, art, VFX, audio design, and weapons. We're really enjoying the lovely feedback that the community has been giving fighting this giant. It's making us very excited for future creatures and encounters to come, AI features. The latter part of the month was focused on bug fixing, including edge cases where Valacar didn't emerge, despawned too soon, or failed to spit during its emergence animation. Improvements were also made to the juvenile and adult Valacar, including changes to their positioning to prevent overlap and better handling of unreachable targets. This also informed a fix for Copian chasing targets that became unreachable. The team then continued to develop upcoming creatures, and the details of which will be shared in upcoming months. Major and minor bugs were fixed for human combat, alongside additional behavior work. This included aiming improvements to consider what part of the enemy is visible. For example, aiming specifically at the head if the chest is obstructed. Support was also added for NPCs using advanced weapon types, such as beam weapons or lasers that can overheat. Updates were made to, so that's a new one. They've been talking a little bit about beam weapons in general in the last couple of months. Lasers that overheat are new. Updates were made to NPCs searching and looting ammo and weapons. The medical animation flow was polished to remove pops, and more control was given to the designers over friendly fire parameters. If you've noticed, the AIs, especially around Hathor and Stormbreaker, are a little bit smarter, and they seem to be running to go pick up weapons. That is intended. It's a feature that it was overtuned last time, and they've been trying to tune it back to more reasonable. Where now civilians will literally run to loot and pick up stuff. So fixes were made to perception, audio propagation, combat investigation, and grenades. For the latter, updates were made for targeting cooldown timer and a collision text when throwing grenades, while a fix was made to ensure that drop grenades always explode. AI Game Intelligence Development Team. This is their AI, like, NPC, like, design stuff. The Game Intelligence Development Team started the month with meetings relating to StarScript, Mission System 2.0, the Commentator Model, the Density Profiler, Entity Scripting, Mannequin, and the Animation System. So I don't know much about Mannequin or the Density Profile. I think that's profile. It just in terms of how many NPCs are spawned at any given location. But Mission System 2.0 is undergoing, and StarScript is their in-house AI system that actually lets them, like, design AI stuff. Progress was also made for the prototype of Mission System V2. Implementations of the outline header and dashboard began. The visuals are evolving and adapting gradually to the limitations of the Qt programming. As part of this, more icons were created to represent each mission component. Additionally, the team continues to fix small bugs and work on some of the features requested by game designers to improve StarScript. AI tech. So this is that. You can see, like, the line editor. I believe this is StarScript. Throughout June, the AI tech team provided bug fixes and support for Alpha 4.2 release, including optimizing how navigation mesh regenerated accounts for navigation links. Since last year, the island calculation, a way to determine which areas are reachable from the perspective of NPC, was split into chunks for use by the planetary nav mesh. Related bugs were investigated and caused some NPCs to not be able to find a path from an individual zone to planetary terrain. They also massively optimized searching of nav mesh around a point. AI tech converted the internal data structure that points to at exclusion volumes or cost modifiers into AABB tree to quickly access and exclude unnecessary elements from the queries. They then increased the radius used by NPCs to generate nav mesh on planets to provide better Valakar fight experience. For example, each variant of the creature needs to be able to move large distances around the world, with the recent amends providing improved generation granularity. So they're actually working on Valakar moving. That's neat. So the Valakar is no longer just going to spawn in an area, it's actually going to move throughout the world in large distances. A way to mark up brushes, geometries that aren't entities, was implemented to ensure that they aren't walkable for NPCs. This is necessary to avoid the use of unnecessary navigation exclusion volumes when artists want to prevent NPCs from walking over specific objects. Ongoing work continued to update 3D pathing with the use of the new voxelization or voxelizer, the new voxelizer approach. Alongside this, the team now has full support for quantum boosting energy usage to efficiently use speeds when flying in space. For StarScript, the export as an image functionality now supports exporting multiple graphs at the same time. Numerous other features progressed that will eventually be used directly in StarScript 2. In the other work, the ability for NPCs to react to radar pings was added. Now they'll either consider a ping as a disturbance to investigate or an active event to bring them into combat. Finally, for AI tech, fixes for NPCs driving vehicles were added, which was a feature the team hoped to add to the PU at some point soon. So yeah, we can see this is definitely StarScript. So that's pretty big. Like, a lot of this stuff is improving navigation meshes. They're working on StarScript and Mission System 2.0. And they're working on the Valakar. So a lot of creature creation and implementation. Animation spent the month supporting Radiated Valakar alongside other new creature for later this year. They also progressed with an animation for pre-combat and social area usables that will promote more stealth gameplay outside of opportunities against NPCs. Facial animation supported multiple releases throughout June. They began by finalizing the content required for Alpha 4.2.1, including new lines for Stows, Walton, and the additional NPCs in the Defend location missions. They then worked alongside narrative and mocap teams to capture new mission giver content for Alpha 4.3 and 4.3.1. The team are currently processing the recorded content as the release dates approach. Neat. This is the Dwarf and the Perseus? That does make sense, yeah. Art ships. So this is probably going to be the thumbnail and the title, because people like ships, and there's a lot of information here. In the UK, the Anvil Paladin continued through Greybox, with additional artists being moved into their other tasks, being moved onto it as their other tasks were completed to help prepare for its July gate review. So the Greybox gate review, as a reminder for everybody, it goes concept, then white box, then gray box, then Laud 0, then final art, then release. So at each point along the lane, they have a gate review where they take what they have and they show it to management and other team members to get them to review it and make sure everything's good. Once they have everything okay, it goes into the next step. So gray box is the step between, it's kind of the middle step. It's between gray box and Laud 0. It's between white box and Laud 0, with final art and then release being the last two. So it's like the third step, but it's kind of that middle zone where you actually start to see the ship become a ship. So it sounds like Anvil Paladin is going up for its July review. So in July, it's going to have a gray box review. So we'll know more next month if the Paladin is going to be going into Laud 0. We don't know the exact amount of time it takes for each amount. It's never been specified, but it takes CIG 18 months to produce every ship, not just small ships or big ships. Every ship takes at least 18 months from concept to release. Or takes around 18 months from concept to release. So the Paladin was released at the end of last year in terms of concept and had been in for a while. So we may still see that here sooner, but probably not until next year. Feel free to post that, Django, if you have a link that shows that process, so it makes sense. Pre-production began on the Gatak Raylan, which will continue between other tasks ahead of the ships officially entering production later this year. Raylan's coming into production. Some of the team moved onto the Drake Ironclad, with some areas receiving layout alterations to improve traversal alongside refinement to the modular Drake kit. This probably means that we're not going to see the Ironclad this year. If it's still going through Greybox review and hasn't reached its full Greybox review yet, it's still going to be a while before that ship is released. Who knows? Could be wrong, but they seem to be really working on it for its kit to make sure that they have enough information and kit to be able to start working on the reconcept and release of the Kraken. So. Work progressed on 5 unannounced vehicles. 2 completed their white box phase and are now onto gray box. The focus on details around the hull. Apollo went from white box last month to Laud 0 this month in 1 month. No, it didn't. It was in gray box in like February. It's been in gray box for a couple months, like at least 3 or 4 months. I remember it being mentioned in, I think in February, might have been March, but it was definitely mentioned as gray box recently. So this should give you a concept of that review stage. So it goes design, concept, white box, gray box, They actually have a new one here called Lot Zero, which this just doesn't have. And then Final and Flight Prep. This is an older one because they actually added Lot Zero as a new step between Greybox and Final Art. No, it's been in Greybox for a while, Cosmic Turtle. I'll pull it up here in a moment. But yeah, so we're seeing something going on with Drake Ironclad. Probably means it's not coming out this year. We'll see. Oh, so the modular rooms went from white box to gray box. The modular rooms and the cockpit, and it wasn't last month. It was 2 months ago. They left white box into gray box last month, and this month the whole ship is in Lot Zero, which we'll get here in a moment. Level of detail 0. Lot LOD, yeah. Work progressed on 5 unannounced vehicles. 2 completed their white box phase and are now into gray box, with a focus on details around the hull. Another is the final stages of production and is receiving the finishing touches and bug fixes ahead of its release, which is probably going to be the Meteor. Another vehicle from a prominent manufacturer entered production and is currently approaching its white box review. A new variant also entered pre-production, with the team states, which the team states may have been a record for the fastest vehicle through production pipeline. So that's all UK team. In North America, the RSI Apollo Medivac and Triage reached Lot Zero phase, with the devs ensuring the modular medical bays swap out and behave as expected. Now, let me pull this up because this has been brought up. So I'm going to pull up black. I'm going to find it on the ships page. The RSI Apollo Medivac and Triage passed their gray box reviews. So there was, I'll pull it right here so you can see. The RSI Apollo, Medivac, and Triage passed their Greybox reviews with a focus on ensuring each medbed module tier is distinct without being disruptively different to use. So they didn't go from white box to Lot Zero in a month. It was in gray box, and they passed their reviews last month. So hopefully that's fix it out. That's the May last month as well, the May report. Following the release of the Asperia Prowler utility, the team tackled some bugs and fixes due to land on Alpha 421. Just give me my Apollo. It's getting to Lot Zero phase. It's very close to being released. I would say likely we're going to see the Apollo come out by IAE of this year. So the RSI Perseus approached its gray box gate review. As such, a lot of work was done to prepare everything that animates, such as the torpedo launchers for the downstream teams. So that means that the RSI Perseus is going to also reach its gray box gate review in July or soon-ish. So that's probably going to come out soon too. So we're likely not going to see the Ironclad. We are likely to see the Medivac and the Apollo, or the Perseus, the Apollo and the Perseus this year, probably around the same time. Lastly, for ships, the Drake Kraken entered pre-production, with the team identifying areas from the original concept that needed further attention to bring modern standards. Full production will begin later this year. So the Kraken is in pre-production. Hallelujah. which means that we'll probably see the Kraken in about 18 months. So maybe next year, probably not, because it's currently it's like May or June. So this is 6 months to the end of the year. Yeah, maybe at the end of the year. Early 2027, late 2026. All right. So that's a big one. I mean, the other thing was the fact that the medevac itself is in a lot of zeros, which is good. And then, yeah, the Raylan that's big. I wasn't expecting that myself. This looks like the Apollo, probably. Yeah. Community. June began with a celebration of diversity and cultures. The team launched Show Us Your Colors 2025. This is followed by support for Alien Week 2955, which included the QA for the Asperia Private Utility and Wicklow's 9 Tastes contests, where players embraced menu culinary tradition through imaginative alien-inspired dishes. The team also supported the launch of Alpha 4.2, publishing a patch watch to spotlight important updates not covered on the roadmap, along with a catch-all post. June also marked International Bar Citizen Weekend, where the team celebrated with the community across Frankfurt, Montreal, Austin, and Manchester. Attendees received this year's exclusive Bar Citizen gift, the holographic Vandal Skull. This exclusive in-game gift will be available at every Bar Citizen World Tour stop later this year. A huge thank you to everyone who joined us in the meeting. Meeting as many passionate and creative members of the person. It was truly inspiring. Your stories and support continue to drive us forward. So this is actually Austin. You can see me. Where am I? I'm here somewhere. Is it over here? I thought I was over here at the back. I'm here. Here I am. That's me. Barcelona World Tour then makes stops in Lyon, Toronto, and Copenhagen as the team continues to meet and engage with local communities around the globe. The team also collected and reviewed CitizenCon Direct Watch Party submissions from those planning to host the watch party on October 11th. More details will be shared soon as the list is finalized. Evergreen tasks continue to including This Week in Star Citizen, the roadmap update, and roundup, the Arena Commander schedule update, and collating several mountains of feedback and ensuring they were delivered to appropriate developers. The team also completed tasks to prepare for Foundation Festival and Ship Showdown, both set to begin in July, alongside ongoing work for CitizenCon Direct this October. In addition, submissions were collected for Org Spotlight Comlink, which highlights player organizations during Foundation Festival. Oh, we should have submitted something. I didn't even think we had to submit something. Core gameplay. All right, so this is a shorter core gameplay, but this is usually a pretty good one. With the new Stormbreaker content, core gameplay teams added several updates to radiation, hazard areas, and damage over time handling, with new IFCS logic that was also added for storm clouds. Most of the team contributed to the Apex Valkyr encounter, including its appearance and how it interacts with the players. The teams were also involved in a new Argo Atlas ICTY, including enabling freight elevators to support the various power suit variants. The recent addition, the recently added points of interest uncovered several unexpected issues during internal playtests in the PTU, though the teams worked hard to resolve them for release. One major challenge was managing the new location's population and corpse control without causing a significant impact on performance. Several freight elevator fixes were made across multiple missions, while improvements and bug fixes were made for radiation. Pretty short one. See your eyes in the background of this pic? I don't see Chris. No, I don't see Chris. Back right. Oh yeah, someone's holding up a cardboard cutout. That's funny. Mission design, Elliot's team. Last month, Mission Design worked to close out Stormbreaker sandbox activity for release. For the upcoming Alpha 4.2.1 patch, they expanded the Infiltrate and Defend suite to only use Foxwell as a mission giver and expanded the location pool. They also fixed the Recover Cargo archetype and fixed an FPS version. Elsewhere, the team are looking into expanding the Ship Battles mission suite with a new escort-based archetype. For this, the players will either escort a ship into a hangar or from a hangar to a safe range where it can quantum jump. Work then continued on content for upcoming patches, including moving generic contracts over to guilds and factions, which is needed for Reputation version 2. Finally, with the mission, I am not happy with their current version of Reputation and with their idea for Reputation version 2. It seems very counterproductive. It's not even a Reputation, it's just level. Finally, for mission design, the devs are investigating an issue with mission generation where it appears that not enough contracts for everyone, which is likely caused by server meshing. Yes, for those of you who don't know what Reputation version 2 is, it's no longer a positive negative thing. You can never earn negative rep with a group. So they're simplifying the group into just to condensed groups now rather than just individuals. And you can never earn a negative reputation. So it's only positive. So if you you could basically work for every company. It doesn't matter if you have a hostile reputation with Hurston, or it doesn't even matter if you've done a mission that would actively hurt Hurston, you can never be negative with Hurston. So you can do everything, is what they've talked about, which I don't like. I don't like that at all. But I could be wrong. It could be a bad interpretation from myself, but that is what they've said in the lore team talked about in one of their ISCs. Yeah, that just turns into levels with a different name. Narrative. Following Alpha 4.2's release, the narrative team focused on the next 2 upcoming patches, which will feature a variety of new missions. This included creating new contracts, mission provider dialogue, and environmental story detail for narrative-rich gameplay location. The team held a performance capture session to record mission dialogue and numerous audio logs to be discovered by players. Additionally, the team supported the mission designers in adding several new combat contracts, along with a refactor of several older missions. Longer term, narrative have been solidifying the next major story arc as the mission content comes more into focus. The team are striving to ensure that the stories the players will experience align closely with the gameplay objectives. Part of this new story will introduce a unique hostile faction. In support of Alien Week, Narrative released a handful of new and expanded Galactopedia articles that focus on the strange fauna and life forms found in the PU. Online technology. The online services team continued to work with the item imprint system. Design aspects are being discussed, technical documentation is being written, and service development began. The team also began preliminary discussions on the upcoming instancing service in collaboration with other teams. They're currently defining the objectives and high-level technical details to estimate the plan to work properly. Furthermore, the team, so they're working on instancing, which is good. But for anybody who's like, well, they just do instancing. They are working on instancing. It's there right there. It's just going to take them a while. They're just doing preliminary discussions. So we're still 18 months away from instancing being in the game. I remember something about no negative with majors, but negative possible with small rep groups. It was a lore discussion. It was sort of an offhanded comment. It wasn't really meant in detail. They just didn't want players being locked out of landing in locations because of, negative rep. But that kind of defeats the purpose in many ways. To give you an idea, one of the things that I would prefer them to do is instead of having instant hostility when you go negative rep, you have a gradated scale where people become less friendly with you, first verbally not liking you, then you have increased costs across the board for everything you do with that associated with that faction. And then sort of less stringent rules. So like you shoot them once, they'll shoot at you, like say if you're doing the Hurston mission, and eventually just open hostility. So you have a gradiated scale, kind of like you have with a gradiated scale with positive reputation, just the opposite direction. I'm hoping that they will revise their idea, and maybe this is just a overly harsh criticism of mine, but we'll see. Furthermore, team discussed inventory ID enforcement and the inventory API. The idea of this project is to ensure that inventory API only accepts calls that affect a specific inventory ID. This would set up the foundation for the upcoming Entity Graph global database sharing. The team also worked on various improvements and bug fixes to provide a better experience for players. The Live Tools team reworked the filtering and sorting functionality of the moderation tool, significantly enhancing the overall user experience. They also addressed technical debt and introduced a quality of life improvements, such as quick access to various tools linked directly to game instances. In parallel, testing began with the new MTL development infrastructure, which offloads computational load from individual developer machines, making day-to-day work smoother and more efficient. Additionally, improvements continued for the crash handler, making it more reliable and less prone to errors. The network team focused on bug fixing and stability updates. Steady progress is currently being made toward dynamic server meshing, which is also crucial for the success of implementation of instancing. There we go. So we need dynamic server meshing before we can get instancing, which is something we were hoping. I was talking about it earlier. So we're going to get DSM first, and then instancing. And for a lot of people who are doomers about this, will be like, so we're not going to get instancing for 4 years or whatever. But based off of everything that Benoit Bolt has said in the past, it seems like dynamic server meshing is sooner than you think. Maybe the end of the year, maybe early next year. We'll see. And a lot of new content is hinged behind DSM. R&D. Gas cloud rendering was further refined based on the improvements implemented in March. To get additional details and improve distance read, support for an extra erosion layer was added. Controls were also added to boost intermediate cloud density during shaping and erosion processes to prevent clouds from thinning out too much. The goal is to preserve the overall shape and original VDB as much as possible, with details added at the cloud interface. Previous density blending step was replaced with a new merging step that combines shaped and original VDB density. This fixes visual artifacts caused by blending step that helps preserve details. Lastly, edge albedo control was made aware of the cloud's density environment to limit darkening to shaped regions without the presence of density coming in from the original VDB. All improvements were made available to both PU and Squadron 42. Elsewhere, the performance of planet cloud rendering and cameras in orbit was increased. Also, night sky rendering was improved. Previously, it incorrectly included my scattering with regards to the fully occluded sun and produced undesirable fake halos, especially when looking at the night sky from orbit. This is now fixed. Furthermore, help was provided to fix the reflection of atmosphere content on water surfaces that was too dark under some conditions. Lastly, VFX. The VFX code and art teams worked on several things for Alpha 4.2. For example, the irradiated Valakar receiving bespoke animation and new irradiated VFX, while the weather VFX was refined and increased to make the event even more tense. The Argo ATLS ICTI also received new impact and surface effects. All right. So, what's the detail with this? Lots of work on 4.2, clearly. Work on clouds. Dynamic server meshing is continuing. It's the second mention of dynamic server meshing in 2 months, which is a good sign. As Jared has said, and I have said many times, if CIG is talking about it, they're working on it. So now that they're fully talking about dynamic server meshing and that they're making progress on it, it means that they're working on it. They're also doing other stability updates. And this is the first mention of them doing instancing in-game. And unfortunately, it's still preliminary discussions. So we're probably still a ways away from instancing being in the game. And DSM needs to be in the game before instancing can happen. Lots of narrative stuff, new capture stuff. There are mentions of the new mission givers with new headshots. So we'll be able to see them talking like we do see now. That's going to be continuing going forward. There's now an infiltrate and defend suite. Recover cargo. There's new ship battles and escort missions, and Reputation V2 is being worked on. along with the mission system is being actively worked on for the AI section of things. Most of core gameplay is just 4.2 stuff. The Storm Clouds, Valakar, Ikti, and then stuff with fixes for elevators. Of course, Citizen World Tour, community stuff, ships. So we've got Paladin, Raylan, Ironclad, all being worked on. Plus, the UK is working on 2 completed, 5 unannounced vehicles. The UK has 8 vehicles they're currently working on. And North America has the Medevac, which has passed it's reached its Lot 0 phase, but passed its gray box review and is into the step. It's like the final steps. Lot 0 is the step right before final art and then implementation. So there's still some time to go, but not that long. And the Perseus is going to get its gate review in July, or is soon. And the Kraken has entered pre-production fully in the US. So North American team is making the Kraken, and then so the North America has 2, 3, 4, 5 ships. So that's a total of 13 ships in production in CIG right now, at least in North America and the UK team. Which is pretty cool, including the Raylan, the Kraken, the Ironclad, the Superior Prowler, obviously is one that finished, Perseus, Paladin, and then 5 unannounced ships. So animations was mostly mocap and other things, but also the content for 4.3 and 4.3.1. And then AI was mostly about improvements to the mission system, improvements to their internal system, as well as looking to improve how AIs loot and how people talk. They're exploring a way of using the current wildline system for civilians to incorporate that into ship combat so that ships will have wildlines with you. That's it for the monthly report of June 2025. Hopefully you kind of caught some of my interpretations there. I do think that we have dynamic server meshing is sooner than we think. Probably not like tomorrow or anything, but we'll likely see an update of it on CitizenCon. We may even see first versions of it at the end of the year or early next year. Do you think I'm being a little harsh by saying we're not going to see the Ironclad this year? Let me know in the comments down below. As always, any of these things, let me know in the comments down below. If you do enjoy me doing these, hit that like button. It does help me a lot when you hit that like button. I should do this, the like button. And then if you did enjoy this, make sure you subscribe for more content and hit the bell icon to be notified of this release. I do these on Thursdays every month. And I also do other content on Thursdays, so catch us live at twitch.tv/TheAstroPub, youtube.com/TheAstroPub live. And if you like my lore content, you want more lore content, you can check out youtube.com/TheAstroHistorian. And if you want to watch a podcast that I do on Star Citizen every week, not every week, but almost every week, you can check out youtube.com/@TheCaptain's Table Podcast. Love to see you at any of those things. And like I say every time, hope to see you someday